Welcome back. Menopause is something that affects around half of the global population. At one point or another, 25 million women passing through that phase of life each and every year.
Joining us this morning, Dr. Deb Matthew and nurse practitioner Nicole Bentavenia from Signature Wellness. First of all, great to see you ladies again. So we're talking about a new documentary and a prequel. If you remember this time last year, we were talking about menopause film that was sparking a lot of critical conversations about women's health long before menopause begins. This new one is called The M Factor 2, Before the Pause. A lot of comments when you guys were here last year with the screening that came to Charlotte, the Q&A with women there at the movie house. It's coming again. Let's talk about perimenopause. We've heard about it. A lot of people in my wife's circle also talk about this, right? The good, the bad, and the ugly that comes with it.
Yeah. Well, perimenopause is that time about 10 years leading up to menopause when our hormones are changing. And our hormones are so important for how we feel, how we relate to other people, how we react to the world around us. So as our hormones are changing, we can have all kinds of symptoms. Anxiety, we can wake up in the middle of the night, brain fog, you can't think of the word that you want to say, the irritability, so many different things are happening, but women aren't really taught about this. And when they go into their doctor, what they're looking for is hope and answers. And a lot of times what they get is another prescription for sleeping pills, antidepressants, and may not be treating the right problem. And more often than anything, women are told this is just normal. And that is so confusing.
Especially for if you are a mom and if you're a working mom and you have all of these things like the brain fog. Do you think it gets chalked up a lot of times to stress, or you're dealing with so much and just getting older?
Absolutely. I think women's symptoms are being dismissed by their providers, and I think a big reason for that is that we're not taught about perimenopause as medical providers. This is going by the wayside, and the film really does a great job of highlighting the fact that these medical experts are admitting we weren't taught how to do this, how to recognize these symptoms or how to treat it effectively.
So not just the answers that women are getting from this film, but what are you hearing from women when they are getting the correct diagnosis and when they're not being dismissed, and when the aha moment goes, I'm not crazy, this is what I'm going through, and I'm not alone. What does that feel like? Is that a sense of freedom and relief for women?
Oh, it's so validating, because when you're feeling this way, like I remember when I was in my late 30s, I was flying off the handle at my kids, over the littlest things, and then I felt so guilty because I didn't want to be that kind of a mom, but I didn't understand what was going on, even as a doctor. And there was nothing in my medical training that helped me understand what was happening to me. So women who didn't go to medical school, it's even worse, right? We feel like we're going crazy. This affects marriages, it affects families, it affects our career. We can't think straight. We need sticky notes to write everything down. Like, it's hard to keep it all together. And we're trying to keep it together for our kids. We're trying to keep it together at work. I had a patient recently tell me that when she's at work, she's the boss, and she holds it together at work because she knows if she screams at her team, they're going to quit. But when she gets home, she kind of unleashes it on her family. Wow. And then, of course, she feels terrible, right? So this is a really important problem for women to understand and for families to understand, but it doesn't have to be that way. We can get you back in balance, and then you can feel like yourself again.
And I think putting things on social media or making whole documentaries about this is helpful to talk about this. So if someone wants to come to this screening and watch this film, what can they expect?
So the film does a really great job of highlighting real-life women and understanding their symptoms are being dismissed. They highlight a teacher who's being told her symptoms are all in her head, and meanwhile she is failing in the classroom for her students. It highlights a female firefighter who's managing, changes in heavy periods, and she doesn't have access to a bathroom on a regular basis. And these women aren't failing, but the system is failing them. And when symptoms are dismissed, women internalize blame and their confidence goes down. And like Dr. Deb said, it affects their careers and it affects their relationships. So early understanding and recognition makes a really big difference.
I wanted to sit in on this conversation because menopause, perimenopause, affects guys too in a big way. And that's in part of the movie, the documentary is guys need to be just as knowledgeable as this as well, not to be a doctor, but to support our spouses, to support the family.
Yeah, because it's so confusing. When women are going through this decade of their lives, our hormones are in chaos. And when our hormones are in chaos, our emotions are in chaos. And people have to deal with us at home.
Yeah.
And so understanding what's going on is such an important thing. And when women can understand, like what this film really helps to do, is it helps women to understand so that they have the language, they have the permission to seek support sooner.
Okay, and so when someone wants to seek that support, they know that something's just off and they're not getting the answers that they're looking for. What should they look for in a provider when they're Googling or using ChatGPT to find someone in the Charlotte area?
Yeah, so like we were saying, unfortunately, even as a women's health provider, we weren't taught how to do this. And so we've sought out extra training, menopause certifications to understand the root causes of the problem. And so that we're not just slapping a prescription for insomnia meds or mood meds. We really want to get to the root of the problem. And having taken the training and the time and the certifications to understand this transitional period of perimenopause and menopause and beyond. Menopause never ends. It just continues for the rest of a woman's life. Half of our lives are spent in menopause. And
Wow.
that's really profound when you think about it. So having providers around the area that you can look up and look for, the M Factor film has a directory for providers, and the Menopause Society has certifications. So looking for providers in the area, in your area, is a great way to get started.
Okay.
So I want to mention the information about this documentary. It's February 12th. It's at 6:30 at the Independent Picture House. It is free. Now, tickets are free, but they are limited. So we want to show you a QR code. We're also going to have more information on our website, a phone number you can call to get to Signature Wellness. But if you've got your smartphone right now, you can pause this if you want. If you're watching it, streaming it, scan that QR code, and it will take you right to the Evite to be able to get your ticket. Take your other girlfriends, and a time for Q&A. While they're there, you can get those questions at. I think this is brilliant. It was a big success last year. I'm glad you're doing the prequel to that this year. And again, that is coming up on February 12th. So thank you, Dr. Deb Nicole, for shining some light on this. Yeah, this conversation is far from over, for sure. Thank you.
All right, thank you, ladies.
Queen City News Plus. Just search Queen City News on your smart TV's app store.